This is
And we are live. We've got a great show for you guys tonight. Really excited for you to be joining us. I know there's been a lot of anticipation online about this week's show. So let's get started. Ravens take Western in overtime. Red Blacks have Montreal this Friday night in Ottawa after a big dub over the Bombers last week. And the NCAFA players have had a big weekend in the OUA. This and more tonight, so stay tuned. Use the chat to join the convo. Share the video link on your profile and tag your friends. I'm Jesse Card. Let's get started. You are watching HESN Live. So the first thing that we're going to do, guys, before we even get started with our first segment is we want to just do a quick little quick tip. So in order to make the league better, to improve the coverage, when you're on the website as a player, you can actually edit your roster information. So right now what you're watching is you need to sign in to the website itself. And then once you do that, you can go to your team and you can click roster and you can actually go find your name. Okay, like that. And you need to be on the edit, and then you can actually go and edit your information. You can change your jersey number, so we can indicate if you are number you are, what position you play. You can select what position you play from a drop down. Half of more information to go on to be able to identify who you are on these highlights. So that's the first little quick tip, and we encourage everyone to go ahead and do that. So you log into the website, you go find your team, you click edit, and you can edit that information.
Brother, nice to see you.
So a lot of people online are excited about this episode this week.
Yep.
We've got some topics. We released a few topics yesterday about what we were going to talk about. I know you and I offline have had kind of a little bit of a conversation about this, just so that we've got our ducks all lined up.
Yep.
And it's a heated discussion.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. I think it's one that's at top of everyone's mind. So
Yep.
it's a good thing to talk about this stuff and get clear on what our opinions are, so that we can move forward.
Listen, everything, no matter how difficult a conversation is going to be, I believe it's always better to have the conversation. And I think part of the problem in so many things in our world today is that people are scared to even have the conversation. Whether it's to tell your parents you've made a mistake and you had bad grades or you got in trouble for something, just having that conversation with them, having a conversation about a touchy subject with somebody at work that you're uncomfortable with. As soon as you start having the conversation is when you start finding solutions. And I think we need to take that in consideration whenever we have these difficult conversations.
Yeah, it's a good point. We'll see how tonight's chat goes and what everyone thinks about that. Just to remind everyone that if you do want to voice your opinion, we encourage you to use the chat while we're live here right now. And keep it classy, respect everyone's opinion. But this is good. This is good stuff for the sport. Let's start by looking at the OUA, though, because that's our sport. That's the level above NCAFA. And, I mean, pretty impressive showing from NCAFA alumni and Ottawa players that NCAFA has have brought up over the years. And we could just have a look. We've got a few clips that we can look at in a little bit. We're going to actually bring on Dylan St. Pierre, who we remember as probably a Raider
a Raider, and also he's a guy we've talked about every episode so far in HESN Live. So
what is it with that guy? We like that guy.
He just, like I said, it's not that he's a great football player. He's a great kid, and his dad was a great guy, and it just, he worked hard, he played hard, and I just like to see it. And I love to see that he's having success at the OUA level.
Yeah, it's good to see it paying off. He paid his dues, and I remember talking to some of the GG's players last summer when I was coaching for the Panthers in the OPFL, and they're just saying he's really by far the hardest worker, and everyone's really excited about what he will become as a GG. But if we look at the first game that I want to talk about, is week one action, defending national champions Western Mustangs versus Carleton Ravens. That game was at home, although I didn't really see any anything about it. You know,
No.
couldn't find the highlights, which is kind of disappointing.
Yep.
That we don't have that for, our big program in the city. But
Yep.
having said that, the starting quarterback now is Michael Arruda, who came from the Gatineau's program.
Okay, there we go.
He's a Gatineau guy, and he played for the Vikings, and then he went and did some of the Spalding Cup tournaments over the years that now NCAFA is starting to participate in. So Michael Arruda went 13 to 28, 297 yards, 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns.
And again, I'd like to watch the clip, the highlights of that game, and see the coaching film. But when you see a game where the final score was 26-23 in overtime for Western, and I believe that Carleton maybe kicked a field goal at the end of the game, because I might have seen a clip on Twitter, maybe. I think that maybe we can make the argument that he played good, but maybe if he played better, he could have got that victory. So I would be interested. What I would like to see.
Well, I think you can definitely make that argument.
Yeah, there we go. But what I love to see is one of my other favorite players was Phil Loki. We talked about a guy who was one of the most.
I should have found some clips on him. I could have done that, but
we could have done that. We still got a little work to do to organize some of our footage from the back in the days. But what's really amazing about seeing some of these guys come through the system, like Phil Loki and Richard Burton, Curtis Schaefer, all these people we're going to talk about, Dan Porter, Dylan St. Pierre, these are all guys that we've watched grow up from the age of 15.
Yeah.
And now these guys are 19, 20, 21, and these guys are making the next steps to become professional athletes potentially. These guys are all probably going to be going to a CFL combine, and they're all going to have an opportunity to represent NCAFA at the CFL level.
Well, we were really proud when we saw them commit, and they got that opportunity. But now they're starting to bloom, and now they're becoming the guys. So Phil Loki, 5 receptions, 115 yards. That 53 is a big long one too. 1 touchdown. That guy's contributing.
That was.
If we go to the next game, Queens versus York, Queens 42-21, and it's also Pat Sheehan's 1,000th win.
Wow.
So I believe that's correct.
No, I don't think 1,000.
No, 100 maybe.
100 makes a little more sense. If he would have had to play for 4 centuries to get to 1,000 wins.
Yeah, sorry. 100 wins.
There we go.
Very impressive on that coach.
Oh, incredible.
You got a couple Vaniers too, I believe, in there.
And a really good guy. I remember one of the games we were filming for Carleton there back in the day when I was working the sidelines, and Queens versus Carleton, and I was right there, getting right in there, and I just remember him being very playful, very cheerful in the sideline, intense, but I didn't realize he was that nice. I thought he was going to be more of a crotchety fellow. He was just really pleasant, and he was really positive, and he was like, if you're promoting football, you can do whatever you want. Come right in. And I always have that memory of him.
I think we need more guys like that see the big picture.
Yeah.
My experience is that there's far too many guys that are like, not on my sideline, like get off, and they just don't get it, right? So good on Sheehan for getting that win, and excited to see his team. He's always a contender. Queens is always good, and they've got a few guys on our alumni base in Ottawa and NCAFA that we want to talk about. Richard Burton. So I remember Richard Burton's a Bel Air Lion, but he didn't hit my radar until Bantam. And then I saw him play, I think, in the championship Bantam game versus the Red Blacks, I believe.
Okay.
And it might have been a quarterfinal. It might have been a semifinal, but I think it was the championship.
I think it might have been the final. I think you're right.
Yeah. And they came back. I think it was a pretty good game. They came back and won it. It might have been, was it Matty Chartier or was that the year after he left? I can't remember. But Richard Burton had a phenomenal performance. He had 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and it's good to see him. He had a reception in this game, so it means he's dressing. He's broken the the 55-man roster or whatever it is. And then Curtis Schaefer, I would say one of the all-time great Bell Warrior linebackers.
Oh yeah.
In recent history, at least.
Oh yeah.
He's now dressing. They used him on the cover of the OUA. He was one of the candidates to be the cover guy for the OUA.
Because he's a beast. Because he's amazing. I love that kid. I love him, and I really got to know him when we worked with EPA doing the difference. And he was one of our featured players when we did that first episode. And watching him train and watching him develop from a 15-year-old sort of scrawny guy to becoming this 17-year-old like specimen of an athlete, and then now he's on the cover of the OUA, whatever.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And again, another person with a great family. Mom and dad are just excellent people.
Yeah, they
Some of
really
my favorite. His dad is one of my favorite human beings to talk football with. It's just amazing.
He is. He is. He just puts a smile on your face when you
He
see him.
does. I wish he was my coach. He's the type of guy. I just look at him. He's like
But when
be
you
the
shake his
best
hand, he
type of.
almost breaks your hands because
I
he's
know
got
it's
these
true.
huge mitts.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and
Yeah.
Curtis's mom's just a amazing, top-notch lady.
Yeah.
So he's out there now, and like he kind of transitioned from what I always thought he was like a middle linebacker will
Yeah.
at the Warriors in Bantam, and then he moved to the Norsemen. They put him at safety, and I thought it was a bit of a stretch for him. Like it really forced him to open up his hips and move a lot more. And then he went to EPA, and they really helped him become more mobile as a player.
Yeah.
And now it's paying off. I think they have him at Sam, which is especially in the OUA and today's Canadian football game, it's a very cover heavy position. So
Yeah. You're basically like a DB.
yeah, pretty much.
And doesn't Pruno play Sam often?
Yeah.
Like didn't? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the big tall, physical free safeties are now can go down and play can play Sam and really like safeties from the NCAA usually come up and play Sam.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
So the other guy who I got some preseason action, who I had the pleasure of coaching over the years, the quarterback Keenan. So
Yeah.
James is now there. I don't know, like he's a first year, so they've got Nathan Hobbs as the starter still, but he's going to be
still
moving
there.
on. Yeah, he's still there. So
Man.
he must be in his last year.
Yeah.
But it's great that he got some preseason action, and I think he did pretty well. He threw for like 98 yards.
Well, the kid's a natural.
Touchdown.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The big thing for him is just it's going to be the maturity of fitting in the system and becoming like a great leader for the Queens team.
Yep.
So we move down. We can still keep naming these NCAFA kids that are doing good in the OUA. And I only looked at the OUA. I didn't look past Ontario for
Well,
the stats.
we know Quinn Stewart's at St. FX, right?
St. FX, yeah, and we're going to talk about that. They had a close game against St. Mary's, but first we're going to talk about Guelph McMaster.
Yep.
Guelph McMaster 16-15 on Guelph, so a very close game there.
Surprising.
And that has become the new, I think, one of the best rivalries in the.
Oh,
OUA.
really?
It has.
Okay, cool.
McMaster and Queens used to be one. McMaster and Western, obviously, when Greg Marshall was at McMaster, that was always a big rivalry. Now it looks like Guelph and McMaster are always matching up in the semifinals or the Yates Cup. But Alain Simikinda is a defensive end. He's been there for a couple seasons, had a really great, I think, all-star season. He's from Ottawa. I'm sure he grew up playing in NCAFA, but he's finally landed at Guelph and he's doing well. And Dan Porter's getting the dress now. He's been at MAC for a couple years, and he's contributing on special teams. I know that his mom and dad were there for the game and got a nice picture taken with him down on the field. Awesome family, and great to see a good Nepean Eagle, Nepean Redskin back in the day doing well for McMaster.
And I think he was the original HESN MVP of the Bantam League, right? He was the first ever MVP that we crowned that year, where he took the Eagles to the finals. They ended up losing, but he was the first guy we gave the MVP to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, just a great work ethic, and you know that as he hits the weight room over the years, he's gonna get more and more opportunities to become a leader on that program.
Yeah, the weight room's important for him, but I mean, I really think for him, the number one thing is just being able to watch the film and get the mental side. When you're a young player and you're playing linebacker, you don't get the ability to sort of learn the keys of the offense. But when you have a guy like Dan Porter, who's such a natural football player, he's a natural hitter. He doesn't even think about hitting hard. He just does. Yeah. But if he can start to understand the game, and I think he's in second year now. So when he gets to third year and fourth year and he can develop in the weight room,
I think he's in his third year now.
Geez, time flies. Holy crap. Yeah, and then, I do think that he can be one of those guys that if he gets a chance and if everything falls for line, I do think he can be a key linebacker on a very good OUA team.
Totally. And then last game that we want to talk about, or Kitchener, whatever you want to call it, Laurier takes that game 39-21. So Ottawa showing that they can be competitive with what the CIS, or I should be saying U Sports now. It's going to take a while for me to say West Ottawa.
Yeah.
It's going to take me a while to say U Sports,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they ranked Laurier number 4
Yeah.
in the nation. So a lot of predictions of this team continuing to do well under Mike Folds as the head coach, and
Yeah.
Ottawa being able to put up some points on them. So we should mention Dylan St. Pierre had a touchdown. I think
my
that's
guy.
his first U Sports touchdown. We're going to bring him on just to chat a little bit in a moment about the experience and how elated he must have been after that. I remember my first game, and you remember that, the first game, week 3 or 4 against Windsor.
Yeah.
The first time I got a dress, and in the fourth quarter I got a pick. And I can
It was
tell
the
you,
highlight of my McMaster career.
walking back to the residence is just kind of like, all that work paying off. And,
Yeah.
and
That was the best.
what a feeling. So he must just feel amazing, and walking in with a little bit of swagger into that team meeting room.
And a great play, too.
What a play. Let's just have a look at that right now.
Let's take a look at it.
And while we're watching these, we're going to start with another NCAFA all-time great, Cumberland Panther, Curly Gittens Jr.
Yeah.
So look at this. 8 receptions, 129 yards, and just another special team demon, right?
Like I've said a million times, Curly Gittens Jr. is my favorite football player I've ever seen from NCAFA, other than Yves Barrio. And Curly Gittens Jr. was the most impressive player I've ever seen. He was one of the nicest kids I've ever met, and he cares about football more than anyone that I've ever spoken to. And there's a little story I do want to tell. It'll take a couple minutes. When we were traveling with the Cumberland Panthers OVFL team, their varsity team, when Ron Raymond was coaching them, actually, we were talking. I drove Curly home after a game one time, and we stopped and got some McDonald's, and we were just sitting there talking about playing Madden, and he's a Cowboys fan, and I'm a Cowboys fan, and he was deciding on whether he was going to play finish the year, or he was not going to play. And it was his final year before he was going to university. The final summer, he was going to university in a month or two.
And most, a lot of kids are concerned about their career and about getting injured and all these other things, right? Like
that's right.
Getting ready for camp and making sure you're hydrated.
Exactly, right? So I'm talking to him, and I'm like, you know what, maybe you shouldn't play. And he's like, you know what, man, I just want to play football. I love football. I just want to play football. And I was like, I know you do, but I mean, he goes, I won't make myself look. I can dominate this league. I could get, and he did. In the final game he played, I think he had 3 touchdowns and maybe one of the best returns of the whole season.
Look back in the day, you could see that this kid was a star like very early on. Probably.
Oh yeah.
I think Bantam. We maybe started.
It was Bantam, and he was this really skinny guy who looked like a wide receiver playing running back and taking hits.
But the way he found daylight and his instincts were just like unparalleled. So I remember that summer that. He was probably second-year Bantam, maybe playing OVF, his marks or whatever, we get. And I remember thinking, like, really? Like, that's it? That's how hard you're going to try for this kid? This kid's going to kick your ass in the OUA.
Yeah.
And now he is. And fortunately, Folds didn't go for it, and he did what he needed to get him in the school. Now he's a bona fide stud for Laurier. Let's look at this.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Now here is Curly Gittens
This is a punt
Jr.
return.
On the punt
Like,
return.
how did he make that
finds
cut?
a lane
This is the
and
stuff that
some
we remember him
daylight
seeing
and runs it back
him
to
make
the
again and
GG's
again in the OVFL and in the NCAFA.
Big play there.
He's just a
from
little bit
Gittens
bigger and
Jr.
faster now.
Third quarter
Yeah,
now.
and he has the ability. He
Firing to the
has
far
good systems
side.
involved.
Gittens
He's
Jr.,
be able to
the
put in right
all-Canadian
positions.
receiver with
Like that's a
nice
CFL.
St. Pierre's
Dylan
touchdown.
St.
Look at
Here it
this.
is.
What a
corner
pro
of
catch.
the end zone with a terrific
Get the knee
catch
down,
for a
beautiful.
touchdown.
I think that's his
Passing
first.
play.
So
Ottawa
that's got to be
is
pretty
down by
exciting.
12.
He might want to work on
They
his
have a little
vertical
bit of
on that jump, but nonetheless, it was a great play. Shout out to Dylan, man. I love
the
you,
other
brother.
player, Canada Knight, that and a Myers Rider, we should mention, that's playing defense for Ottawa, is Abed Hamidi.
Yeah. Another guy, Abed Hamidi, he's an ex-Mustang. He was part of a great game against Curly Gittens Jr. at the Bantam division.
Here's some OVFL back in the day.
Yep.
Varsity semifinal, I believe.
This is the I think quarterfinal.
Quarterfinal.
There's a quarterfinal, and this is the last game that I think
you can see that, like, watch
this is the play right here.
Look at this kick return. So
Watch
this is the same kind of style that you see at Laurier now. They got him first team OU All-Star All-Canadian honors.
And this play right here was in the fourth quarter to take the lead against a team they had no business beating. And this wasn't just a play against a bad team. This was a playoff game, and this was to take the lead. And this was his 3rd touchdown of the game. And unfortunately, they ended up losing this game on a last second play by Mississauga there. But he listen, Curly Gittens Jr. if he doesn't become a CFL All-Star in the next, by the next 5 or 10 years, I will be surprised. That's how talented this kid is, and the most important thing though is this passion for the game.
The passion's there. I remember last summer going to Laurier for our first game to play Cambridge, and who's there in June, just hanging out the field?
Loves it.
Curly. So he just can't get enough, and that's what it takes to become an all-time great. Is you've got to be obsessed about
kids. It's for 2 reasons. One, these kids have worked extremely hard to achieve something great and playing in the OUA, and also people need to understand that playing in the OUA is an incredible achievement for an athlete. This isn't some sort of it's Canada.
Look how good that football is now.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it is incredible. I still stand by my statement. The McMaster, Laval, when who's the quarterback? Kyle. When McMaster won their first Vanier.
Kyle Quinlan, yeah.
When that football game against Laval, I think it was 44-41 final score, was the best football game I've ever seen in my life.
Well, the TSN dubbed it the best football game of all time.
I think it is that.
And another Ottawa boy. Here we go again. Like when you start adding up how many kids that Ottawa produces, it's almost unfathomable. Tyler Capena kicked the game winner to win the Vanier.
Yep.
Myers Ryder. So look at how many kids are in the OUA doing well, and it's just such good football. I get a little tired of hearing this D1 crap all the time.
Yeah.
I really do. And I know we didn't really maybe want to talk about this in this episode, but like I just want to touch on it. Like,
yeah, let's do it.
The OUA is so good, and it's such a great gateway into the CFL.
And not just the OUA, all of you sports. There's lots of great teams in BC and the out east and Saskatchewan, but I know
I say the OUA, but I mean you sports.
Yeah.
And I think it's important just to talk about this and support our local brand. The only unfortunate thing that U Sports doesn't have is any kind of forward-thinking media. Like they've done such a horrible job with covering the sport that most of the kids that we're talking about, that we're going to talk about in the midget division that have an opportunity to move up, maybe don't know how good it is. That they're not even aspiring to go there. And maybe they're being misled to think that they need to go to D1 when I don't even think you have a better opportunity of going to the CFL as a D1 player.
You don't. And
why? And let me ask you this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why do so many kids want to go D1? Is it to play D1 football, or is it to potentially go pro? You know that it's to go pro.
Of course.
It's to go to the NFL, maybe.
That's right.
Or if you're lucky, which is way more realistic, is to maybe bounce back up and play in the CFL. Christ, if Johnny Manziel is playing in the CFL,
Yeah, we were just talking about this.
What do you think you're going to be doing going to D1, and then what do you think's going to come after that? You'll be lucky to make the CFL, and now the CIS has proven, or the U Sports has proven over the last, I would say, decade, that they almost favor Canadian players because they're more familiar with them.
That's right.
I remember going to the combine and having a bunch of kids from like Brown and some of the more discreet like Div 2 schools come up.
Yeah.
And
not the big football schools.
No one knew who they were.
No.
They didn't have any advantage.
No.
In fact, I'd say that it was a tougher slug for them.
And let's not also forget, that's not the other part that no one ever talks about is when you take a kid who played in Canada his entire life, and now he's going to work his way towards OUA, U Sports, CFL. He knows this game of CFL football. When you're in sport is very different. People always say, all my friends who CFL, Vince Young will kill it in the CFL. I said he won't even scratch the roster. We're talking in the CFL, you take a guy like Jeff Garcia, who was one of the best CFL quarterbacks of a generation. When he went to the NFL, he was a really good NFL quarterback, okay? But if you took a really good NFL quarterback and brought him to the CFL, I don't think it would have worked out.
It happens again and again.
It consistently happens.
Like even like a stud like Mazzoli, who is at Oregon.
Yeah.
Lit it up. Took him how many years to actually become like a productive starter?
5 years. I think 5 years he's been. 4 or 5 years, I think.
Yeah. And I think that has to do with the NCAA being just almost too coached up.
It is.
The CFL is just a little bit more of an instinctual game.
It really is.
That like if you don't tell specifically a player like to do something, then maybe they just won't figure it out. So anyways, we can go on this rant, but I want to start that conversation because we're going to be looking at the highlights from the Midget League.
Yeah.
and the Big Ten and also the QMFL conference. And we're going to be looking at the next crop of kids that are going to be stars.
And this is what people.
And
Yeah.
I want to be a guy that is promoting our local sport, our local youth sports. I'm an alumni. You're an alumni. And why the hell wouldn't we be promoting this game? Why
Well,
would
then
we be
you
selling
said it
ourselves
back.
down? Like, I don't want to be a fan of the NCAA. I'd rather be like right in the mix, building up our own backyard here.
And you said it. You said the best thing earlier when we were talking about what we are going to talk about today on the podcast. You said something that really that was powerful to me. You're like, the football today, and we tried to work with Carleton. Everyone knows we did some great things. We felt like we did some great things. We really tried to try to bring the HESN flavor to some of the local programs and get something going. But we understand that we need to show people how great the sport is, and it's not being seen by people, and that is the biggest problem. And just
look around the OUA. Let's not look any further than that.
Yeah, let's stay in the OUA.
Who's enthusiastic about in building an atmosphere so that, like, if you're not that excited about what you're doing as a sports services employee, a salaried employee, then how are you expecting anyone else to get excited about it? And so many people just take the job and do the bare minimum, and what they put in is what they get.
Which is nothing.
I can't see that we couldn't find the highlights for Carleton.
Or really anything. And the only highlights we found were from a guy doing it by himself.
Sport Online 519, which I think is awesome. He does a great job. I don't know if he takes the clips from the broadcast. I think he does, but he just got to work on his announcing, man. Holy Jesus.
All right. He can get there. It's.
Should we be wearing like a suit and tie, or we're doing it a bit different here at HESN, eh?
Yeah, we do a little bit different at HESN. I got a little collared shirt. I got Aikman in the background. It's all great, baby.
Different way, yeah. Anyways, let's get into the highlights, man.
Let's do it, baby.
Okay, so let's just quickly look at some of the shifting rankings at the Mosquito level.
Let's start.
Which is the youngest level that we're going to do the rankings. I know that some people are asking where the tight stuff is. We're just not doing it this year. Too many teams, like we said before. There's 18 teams now that we've gone to 6v6. And some clubs have 2 teams. And also, who cares who's winning? Are they having a good time, and are they moving up to Mosquito? That's all I really care about. And we're going to shoot some amazing highlights this year. We're going to continue to cover the players. We're going to learn some interesting stories, but the result column really doesn't matter. So let's jump to Mosquito, because I know at Mosquito we start seeing some pretty competitive football. And there's 11 teams in the city for Mosquito football. This is where all the next superstars are going to be coming from. Cumberland Panthers jump up to the number 1 spot. A lot of people gave me grief about this because they said they're the defending champions because of the merger between the South Ottawa Mustangs, the Myers Riders, and the Gloucester South Raiders at that level. I just thought that they would be a pretty impressive team under the Myers banner is what they're going as. But having said that, Panthers had a big win, and they're jumping up to number 1, followed by Canada, Orleans, the Giants, Eagles, right down to Belwars. And I know Coach Pat Kilmartin's giving me grief. He says, number 11 in the Warriors. I haven't seen the Warriors on a number 11th ranking like my whole life, and that's okay. We like it. Direct quote verbatim. It gives us something to work for to climb these rankings. So they're in good spirits. You know what? I think somebody from Gatineau wrote a comment like, "Hey, we're not last." But everyone's in good spirits at this level. It's going to be a really competitive year. I can't wait to get out to the games this weekend. And what do you guys think? Write in the comments. What are you thinking? I know we're going to hear from a few of the coaches at the Mosquito level. But week 3, baby, we're already here, man. We're going to start getting into some fall football action. Everyone's in good spirits at this level. It's going to be a really competitive year.
And the players get to do their thing, and I love what Coach Schmidt is doing at Cumberland Panthers, my old coach, and it's great to see. So I'm excited to see how the season progresses at the Mosquito division.
Totally. Now, if we jump up to Pee Wee, Tyler, Myers Riders standing on top of the mountain right now with the Panthers just behind him. We're seeing a pattern here with Myers and the Cumberland Panthers, really 1 and 2 respectively, and then followed by some of the other we're still early in the season. We've really only had a couple of games, so we're just starting. Like Gowan put pretty nicely. He says, "You want to know what the standings are and the results? It's like some of the teams are 1-0 and some are 0-1. That's all you need to know. But this stuff's gonna flesh out. But the Pee Wee, we did see that the Canada Knights and the Ballard Lions had a lot of offensive power with the highlights last week. So we're going to keep an eye on them this week, and we're going to get out and check out some of the other teams and see some of the interesting stories around the Pee Wee level. So that's where we stand with the rankings. Once again, here's your opportunity to tell us what you think.
I was filming last week. An extra shout out to Ethan for covering for 5 minutes to film the game for me while I had to go do a little run. But it's great. We want you guys' feedback. We want you guys to be like, oh, we should be higher, or this team shouldn't be as high because we beat them. We want that conversation because it matters. Having these discussions matters. Having them respectfully matters as well, and we want to make sure that all these divisions get their proper recognition. So keep it coming, baby.
We're going to get into kind of the proper way to do things a little bit. We're going to get into discussion on some of the hits that happened this weekend, but I want to stress, just coming from a kid that played here, went on to the OUA, like really what we're trying to do, not just at HESN, is covering this and building the hype and making kids feel like what they're doing is important, but also as coaches and volunteers and executive, we're trying to make you better. We're trying to give you some sort of practical knowledge that will help you become a better person. That's what this is all about.
That's right.
So, handling yourselves in games when calls don't go your way, learning, what types of hits to make, what type of hits that maybe you shouldn't make in today's game, and then also like how to conduct yourself. A good family guy, a dad, or a good employee. That stuff matters. How you conduct yourself. So, as we talk about the rankings and do all this stuff, make sure that you're respectfully handling yourself well online, because you're leaving a digital trace of everything you're doing, and you never know who's going to be watching, including me. I'm on.
Well, there's a very important lesson to be learned. Just the other day, a woman, I've people seen this on Twitter, a woman got hired by NASA, okay, and she wrote, F every what the F and say. He says, well, I'm the boss of NASA and I just hired you. She was fired the next day.
Yeah.
Right? You never know who's watching. It's really important to make sure that you conduct yourselves online like you would on a football field. And there's no referees online because it's impossible to do, but you just be respectful. And the more respectful you guys are, the better that NCAFA, HESN, and the Big Ten will be.
Well, let's move up to the Bantam rankings. We want to get to the Midget, Big Ten, and QMFL. And let me tell you, there's at 16 to 18 years old, but I think they're conducting themselves pretty well with the trash talk.
I think it's incredible. I'm blown away. I remember when we were younger. Remember when message boards first were invented? I remember the stuff that were posted on those were ICQ. Brutal.
Who remembers ICQ out there?
I remember ICQ.
Okay, let's get into the Bantam power rankings now. I had a message on Twitter from John Buck saying, "What the hell happened to all the teams at Bantam?" There's 7 teams, but what I said is change of leadership where you don't see teams. That is less indicative of football not doing well in those areas as it is just they're not organized. So Canada Knights at Bantam, we saw them in week 1 against the Lions. There's no doubt that this is going to be a contender. But the Myers Riders, I got some intel from my neighbor actually down in Nepean that their boy, I can't believe it, Jake Tite, is now a Bantam player. I remember when he was a Tyke, and I was just like, holy geez, how old am I? So Canada Knights at Bantam, we saw them in week 1 against the Lions. Yeah. So he's a Bantam now, and they said, you're going to want to watch these Myers Riders at the Bantam level. And I said, oh yeah? And he said, oh yeah. So I looked at the scores, and they're running up the scoreboard a little bit over the first 2 weeks. So they've jumped up a spot. They're already pretty highly ranked in the preseason and week 2 rankings, but they're jumping up to number 2 with the Panthers. Again, pretty competitive at every level the Panthers are. And the Warriors remaining the same, along with the Giants, and Bel Air and Nepean losing both of their two first games, so they're dropping down to the bottom of the pack. You know it is. You know it is. Okay.
Like them on the football field. I had a good opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, to sit down with these kids and hang out with them for a couple hours. These are a bunch of great kids who seem really close group. They seem like they play for each other. And I'm rooting for those guys, and I'm happy that the Canada is doing a good job.
I don't know if you noticed, but this is always a sign of how strong, healthy program.
It's a good culture.
Yeah, a really good culture. So I remember seeing Vanass and a few of his receivers hanging out at the Notre Dame High School marathon of games that were going on there.
Cool.
So very cool. But all right, so we're gonna get into this. We're gonna look at the highlights. Feel free to jump in at any time. Okay, so if you wanna stop the clip, you wanna talk about something.
All right.
We can do that.
All right.
But we're gonna start with the Eagles, who went into Minto Field week 2 after their loss against the North Shore Mustangs, and played Myers. And Myers coming off of a very disappointing opening game.
Yes.
Against Canada, and this was a low-scoring affair. So, are you surprised at the 13-3 final in this game tie? I'm not necessarily surprised. I think that let's run the clip. Let's check out the highlights. Let's see about it. We'll chat about it. But you think to yourself, what can someone do to become better week to week? And for example, when you look at what the Vikings were able to do from week to week, how much better that they've been compared to where they were in the first few games. It's amazing. And you want to make sure that you're just improving every week. And whether you win or you lose, it doesn't matter. But the fact that you're able to keep a game like that it shows that you're making improvements. So I like to see that. Well, they don't have much time, I will say, because I know that Myers Riders and the kids that have come up through the Myers program and some of the other kids, I think that they've got some kids from all over the place. Ben Williams was a Warrior growing up.
Yeah.
And
great
there's
player.
Another running back in there. I don't know if it's Ben's co-partner there at the Warriors, but I suspect it is. Now, we gave you this quick tip at the start of the show where you can actually enter your jersey number in the rosters now on the website. So I walk you through kind of how to do that. Now that the website's up and rolling with results and scores and the mobile app where you can update scores on the fly, it's kind of fun to use. I was trying it this week.
Very cool.
And now you can actually put a profile picture in the rosters, and you can change your number and what position you play. And players can do that themselves. Like I said, we just showed you how to do that. But we can start to really identify some of who these players are. But running back number 2, that was a tank. You're going to see. I'm going to shut up. Here we go. Midget, big.
You're now listening to Alexander Chess Music.
Love the new turf here on the field, though.
Great turf. Looks amazing on film.
Really looks good, nice and crisp. It's really soft. I was surprised how soft it was. I also like Myers' new uniforms, by the way.
Yeah, they look very slick. Yeah, this kid.
Yeah. Oh.
Only high quality.
That's a big hit right there. Let's take a look here. He's going to go around the end. There's Noah making his moves.
High quality beats.
Man, I love Noah Gauthier as a football player.
Alexander Chess Music.
Just looking up the running back number 2, I think.
Yeah, check him out. Yeah. This is great.
Only high quality beats.
It's John. I think it's John.
It's amazing, like, when you see these kids that were in Pee Wee, and now they're like so much older. It's hard to see them the same, like.
My suspicion, this kid right here. My suspicion is that's John Bubba.
Oh, that kid, that player is so good. Just missed that throw right there. Oh, bad snap. Jump on it, son. That is a big human, that 98. That's a good defensive play right there. Quarterback looks a lot more comfortable in there this week, eh?
So I think that's Connor Renball, another Warrior. So I think usually they go to the Norseman.
Yeah, and you know what I found in the history of it just in football sometimes is even though there maybe what happens is that maybe a coach or two from Bell Warriors were asked to coach at Myers because they needed some coaches, and you know they will bring some players with them. Because when I played Pee Wee, I was a Mustang my whole life, and we didn't have a Bantam team at the time.
Yeah, but you can't just bring players over, right? Like we're a territory-based league, so there are mechanisms in place to do that. But
yeah, I guess that's
but
true.
I don't know what's going on. But my suspicion is that's John Labamba, number 2.
Okay.
And him and Ben have grown up playing together, 1 and 2 punch in the backfield. Look at this.
Whoa.
Oh, the hurdle.
The hurdle for no reason.
He's a phenomenal player though, man.
Oh, he's incredible.
Just such a beast. I remember watching him in Pee Wee against the Panthers in the championship.
Oh, yeah. That was great.
A game that I know Mike Polito is still kind of upset
Polito,
about.
what's up? I haven't seen that guy in a while.
He had trouble with the 46. So
Pick off that ball, son.
Safety for Nepean.
This quarterback from Mars is a pretty good athlete, though.
I know. He's got great feet, eh? He sets up. He keeps his shoulders square.
Yep. I'm always impressed when I watch these kids and just how good some of their fundamentals really are. And, and I think that's I remember when we were playing, when we were getting recruited or trying to go to university, what the coaches always told me was people that come from NCAFA have the best fundamentals in all of Ontario because they play proper football from a very young age. And in other places, they don't have the ability to really have this structured system like we had in Ottawa with NCAFA.
Yep.
And the benefits are more long-term. They don't pay off maybe right away. Maybe you don't get these amazing athletes like you might get in Toronto or Montreal, but
they're fundamentally built better.
They're fundamentally built better. And when you're fundamentally built better and you play in a more structured system, I think that it's something that people should be proud of being part of NCAFA.
I noticed that too. When I was a DB first day of camp at McMaster, I remember going in and the first thing they start with is, all right, let's see your back pedal. And I was with like a bunch of Toronto kids that probably played linebacker.
Yeah.
And I had already had a bunch of experience as receiver, running back, and DB and linebacker, and I just played so much more football than them.
Yeah.
My back pedal was just. I remember the coach going up and just being like, yeah, you're like a lot better than these guys.
Yeah.
Like not bigger, not more physical, like you're just talking about, but just like you're just a better football player because you know
better
what you're doing.
Fundamentals.
And that's NCAFA. Now I want to mention the things that stood out here. Myers number 22 and number 23 defensive backs. I think they're playing halfback. Sound tacklers.
Okay.
Just like really good, sound aggressive football tacklers. That I think that really lends itself well to being a good football player at the next level. The other guy I wanted to mention just before we jump off the.
Did he catch that football there?
He did.
Wow, that's a great play right there.
I know. I couldn't even figure out how he caught it.
I think it bounced off the guy.
I think so too.
Wow.
So there you go. So now here's okay. So I'm gonna just jump in here.
Yeah, go.
Stop right there. Now, a lot of talk online right now, coming from some of the other players at Canada and the Eagles and Bel Air, is saying that, listen, the Eagles' offense ain't good enough this year. They're not going to be able to score points. They just look so vanilla and crappy that these are the opinions that are flying out there.
Yeah.
But what I want to remind people is the coaching staff that's there and the history of success in Ottawa of winning championships and finishing the deal. I know it firsthand. You can't underestimate the ability to put it together and then win in the playoffs. And truthfully, last year was no different. Now, they did have a few other players and pieces in place that they don't have this year, but their ability to get people up to the level that they need to compete and win championships. I believe that Michael Alexander and Carlos Blizzard as a duo. Now, they don't have Andy Ogg as the head coach anymore, so we'll see what kind of maybe like young piss and vinegar that maybe they didn't have, but I'm sure Carlos can fill the void there.
Oh, yeah.
But because I know Andy Ogg's a great motivator, but they will be dangerous down the run, but I do think that they're a defensively built kind of team right now.
Well, if you look at the proofs in the pudding, because their defense hasn't given up 20 points in the game yet, or maybe that first game they gave up 21, but I think most of that was because of poor offensive play. It takes time to get going. You know, this is a new league, this is a new competition, these are new players they're working with. Maybe we'll have a bit of a situation, but listen, you can't be. Not everybody can be great every year.
If you remember last year, they didn't move Dante into the quarterback position until the playoffs.
Here we go.
So they were like still trying to find adjustments. But I will say, I do think that their offense is kind of built under a ground and pound Noah Gauthier with a young 15-year-old. I think he just turned 16-year-old quarterback.
Yep.
That is something that they probably need to be a little concerned about.
I think there is a little bit of concern considering that they haven't been able to really control the ball. But like we said, week to week, you want to see improvement. And I've already noticed the quarterback looks a lot more comfortable in the pocket. And I think over time, when you're more comfortable in the pocket, you're going to make better decisions and you're going to create more opportunities for the rest of your team. And I think you'll start to see it's a snowball effect. Now, unfortunately, snowball effect can work both ways. And, you know, so you just want to make sure that you try to keep that momentum going. And hopefully the coaches don't panic too soon and just try to let the momentum, try to let it all come out in the wash. Don't just let it go. You know, there's a lot of football season left.
There's a lot left, but yeah, they're going to need to get their offense humming with a good run game. And I think that's going to be their strength. I do think that they're going to have that play action, you know, tight end and wide out on a few successful plays. But I think the bread and butter is going to be Gauthier with getting the offensive line in sync, communicating, understanding their assignments, and then they're going to grind the clock away this season on teams.
That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
Their defense can hold them.
So I will say, yeah, I was very impressed. Look at this coverage again. This 22 kid's a stud. He did get called on that one.
Well, that's a bad call.
It was a bad call. That was great coverage. You even look back.
Yeah.
This kid, 22 for the Eagles, a corner. We talked about him, I think, on the first podcast. I asked Michael about him. This is CIS kid.
Yeah. That's a nice play by 11 too. He looks like a little energy there.
And then look at this finish. Oh.
Touchdown.
And you know what? I was also impressed with just the attitude, you know, like we talked about again, like the thing for Noah is going to be him just giving the ball back to the ref and getting out of the trash talk that happens after the play. And you know, I could start to see it, man. I don't know. I watched this game and I just felt that he had a way about him. Look at this run.
So here's the thing that I've already. Oh man, that's a great run right there.
I think that's John. Hey, can somebody confirm that right now? That's John Labamba.
I still can't believe, like when I watch both these Myers games so far.
Watch this. So you know they were close to putting up a touchdown. That would have been a much closer game if they score there. That's 13-10.
Yep. Oh man.
So this 7, you know what? There's a lot of potential there, I think.
Oh yeah, and listen, Myers, the results are clearly not what they were hoping. But like I just said, the fact that they went from getting destroyed the first game to being right there, almost being able to make it like a one possession game right there, and making a great defensive play right there.
Yeah, look at 22, man.
Let's see his quarterback. Look at the quarterback. A lot better there. Little bit of a deep drop. I like to see him stop a little bit.
I think what the coaches are doing with that young quarterback is like simplifying the game.
Yeah.
Giving him 1 or 2 options on every play, and just being like, don't worry about like coming up with like this, you know, coming up with all these things on the fly. Like here's your 1 read, here's your 2 read, and then just like tuck it and run up the middle. That's it. And I think that will help him, get this offense going a little bit.
Man, like I really am surprised that
this kid is good, man.
He's around the ball every time. Here goes Noah.
I don't think that's Noah.
Oh no. Let's see here. See, they've done that play so much all year. They throw it like a lateral. I don't like that. That makes me nervous every time. Every time the quarterback stands in the pocket, doesn't take his drop and throws it behind him, I don't like that. I don't like that.
So yeah, this is very much a ground and pound kind of ground and pound. You know, they're a proud group. I know people are hating on them, like, you know, people are talking about them and their performance. Defensively, I think did okay this week, but my point was that they're going to have to figure it out soon because they've got the Sun Youth Hornets coming up. I think not this weekend, but next. Going to Montreal for that, and nobody's been able to beat the Hornets. So you just want to be able to see them compete. Like Myers not being able to compete in the Big Ten the first year. Definitely some bright points in what we saw this week, and they're going to have to continue to improve on defense, and they can't let teams run up the score like Canada did. That can't happen. Would be disappointing in my opinion. Right now we've got them listed at 10, so they've got a hard climb, but definitely some. I now the reason they aren't is that the Eagles started at number 2, and they dropped the 3 last week. They hit 3. I just want to see more from the Knights. I believe that it's this week. Let's see how that goes. Now the reason they aren't is that the Eagles started at number 2, and they dropped the 3 last week. They stayed at 3. I just want
Number 2 in the Big Ten, personally.
I believe that you.
But that's why we have power rankings, man. That's
and a lot of people would agree with you.
But that's the
I'm just like I can't erase the residual history of the Knights at Midget that quick.
Yeah.
I need to see more from them.
All right.
So let's go on to the Giants Cougars. Now, 2019 finish in this game. Well, you have a look. You let me know what you not have that French techno.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, great job by the guy.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing video clips.
I just think the music maybe.
Find a new sound designer, I'd say. I don't need.
Look at this. Okay, so number 24, Oliver. Obviously, we're very familiar with Richard Graham on defense.
That's my guy.
I want to say right now, like they got some ballers on this Giants team.
Yeah.
And in fact, little HESN inside info. It's been reflected to me that the coaches are not worried about Canada much, which I thought was surprising.
Wow.
They're starting to look at their next Quebec opponent already. They don't think that there's much in Ottawa to be worried about.
Who said this?
This organization.
Oh, okay. You know what? I
asked, could this be on the record? And he said, go for it.
Okay.
So they don't play a Quebec team for another 5 weeks.
Well,
so I don't agree with that approach. Like if they're already starting to think past the Canada Knights, which are 2-0 and are racking up points, I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
But we will see on Thursday night.
We will see, and I don't believe that they should be overlooking the Knights. I can say right now, I don't know much about these Giants. I did see this game, and there were some good moments. There were some bad moments.
So they go up 7-0 there, right?
They go up 7-0 there. Some nice good cinematography here with the slow motion. I'm thinking a little fumble, nice little scoop there. He's able to get it. He does get it, so that's great. But I'm very impressed with this Canada team, and I think they haven't even been able to. I don't
tweener kind of body.
Yeah,
but he's just such a good football player that will conquer all.
Well, that's a good pick.
So
Look at that.
They get a pick.
So they're up 7-0, and
I think he takes it in here.
So they're up 14-0.
Either 14 or 13. They might have missed the extra point.
He does take it in.
So that's how this starts.
So here's what I'm already going to say about the Giants. They're up 13-0 and they lose 2019. That's
exactly.
That's sort of.
Well, here's my take. Like, you have to take history into account, right? You can't disregard history completely.
Not completely.
I put a little bit of stock in that. Like, there are big turnarounds, but the one thing that I will say about the Giants is they always have enough talent.
Oh yeah, that's never a problem to Giants.
And they're always good, but they're undisciplined. They have a history of not being able to win the games when they need to or make the plays when they need to, and they have a little bit of a self-destruction mode. Self-destruction mode. So I would say this team has all the potential in the Midget Big Ten Conference if they can introduce an element of discipline into their game, of not trash talking, walking back to the huddle, and just getting on to the next play and executing. and reducing the amount of interceptions. They threw a lot of interceptions.
Let me ask you here, what type of football are they using here? That looks like a small ball. Because I know there's like the in Quebec they use
number 4.
That's a big play. It looks like a basketball player. You know, he's
big
really
athlete.
tall. And who's the quarterback for the Giants? He throws a nice ball.
He is. So he was at the combine, tested really well. He did play quarterback for the Giants at the Pee Wee level, and then he went to Franco Cite for a season. He played kind of a little bit of quarterback and a little bit of receiver.
So he played with Ron there.
No, I think Ron was gone by then.
Ron was gone.
He played last season with him, but now he's back. His dad's coached in the league. Don't have his name right in front of me right now.
It's all right. Yeah, no, I like his fundamentals. I think decision. I'm not going to comment on his decision making, but I will say that when I see the ball come out of his hands and these really good aerial shots of the ball in the air, which is like half the video, it looks good in the air, and that's really
doesn't
important.
This football look good?
It does. Looks great. It's Big Ten football. It's great. And did you notice on the sign that they had at the field?
Big Ten, yeah. Oh, there. Okay, so Oliver, much like last season winning the OPFL championship, gets a pick. This guy's just such a smart football player. You want to be careful with that hook to curl area with 24 on the field.
You know, as a former quarterback,
this is a little disappointing.
Well, these defensive players are scared of getting penalties. You know, like so they want to. You know, this is what we see. But I'm just kidding there.
Yeah,
I
hope you were.
The thing is about the hook. You were talking about the hook curl zone. I always never felt comfortable throwing that football, you know, as a football player.
Well,
because
what's the risk and reward?
That's the thing. It's like if you do complete it, it's as good as a run play, and if there's a mistake, it's an interception.
Now, I do like the drags and the digs. You know,
I don't think enough people do drags. If I was coaching, I'd be running.
Oh, they're impossible to cover.
Impossible.
If you're in cover 1 or cover 0 as a halfback, like good luck.
Yeah.
Because well, certainly when I played, like I wasn't fast enough, so I had to hedge my bets and give a little bit of cushion, and just play smart based on the down and distance. Okay, so look at this. They get that back.
Here's what I'm going to say about the Giants, because I watched a bit of this earlier. This is a really disappointing loss for them. To me, I don't see anything from the white team here in Montreal. I don't see anything that they've done good in this game. I think that I've seen the Giants be the best.
This is kind of the nail in the coffin here.
Ooh.
Coughed up the punt. Give them 1st and goal from the 4.
Yeah, and you have all the momentum.
After they just ran right through the defense like it was cutting butter.
Like a hot knife through butter.
And then they just cap it off with this run.
This running back is a pretty good player, though.
He is good. Yeah, look at this. High steps it. Looks the camera. Oh, boy.
He's on HESN, number 27. Where you at, son?
Yo, and thank you, amateurfootballvideos.com. I won't forget that that's the website.
No, it's there the whole time.
But thanks for the edits. There's a great cinematographer, I will say.
Yeah, he's very talented guy. Or it's a girl. I don't know if it's a guy or girl, but the person does a great job.
I met him once.
Dude.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So he does a great job.
He follows the ball so well in the air.
He does follow the ball.
Got that like NFL films like caliber shot there. So there's the pick at the end. That ends it.
Disappointing loss. From what I've seen, I think Canada handles them nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So you're
West Ottawa, sorry.
West Ottawa.
I'm riding with West Ottawa from what I've seen. I've seen both of their games.
Both natural turf teams.
Pardon me.
Both natural turf teams.
Yeah, but I saw them. We saw West Ottawa dominate on Nepean, and we saw them play well against Bel Air. Now, I will say the Norsemen had a really good comeback. They were down and out in that game. It could have got out of hand, and they all of a sudden turned into the Norsemen around midway through the second quarter.
I was gonna say that I believe the Norsemen are the most dangerous team because I think once again I'm gonna go back to the history. I just think like patterns happen for a reason. The reason that they've been successful, by the way, Tony got in touch with us. We were wondering last week how many years he's been coaching. 15.
15 years.
And now the question is, Tony, how many championships? I forgot to ask you that. So now we got something for next week to talk about.
I know he's got a few.
But the reason that they've been good, and this is coming from him, is the coaching staff that he's had around him. He says also the players coming from the Warriors and the Lions coming together, which obviously that's what it is. But it's got a little bit more to do with the fact that they've been able to put it together as a coaching staff and players. They're saying the right things. They're getting people to buy in. And when you look at the high quarterbacks, they can't decide who's going to be number 7,
Number 9.
or number 9. And number 9 again looked really good. So
Number 7 made some good plays too.
yeah.
So I don't know if the last game he was injured or what happened there.
Now I just want to see are these? I'm going to play these highlights, but I don't know if they're the most recent now. Now that I think of it. But I just think that they're down the line, like when they put it together and they learn what they're doing and who's who and what they want to do, and they start to learn more with more film on what other teams are doing.
Yeah,
they're going to be dangerous.
I think they might be.
And I think they always have players that just want to win a little bit more than the other neighborhoods.
I think this West Ottawa team I think they're pretty good. I think they got great talent. I think Jared Valentino is one of the best quarterbacks I've seen play. He throws the ball across the middle as good as anyone. They have
this was last week, right?
This was the game. Yeah, this was the game. Yep.
Okay.
This is a great football game.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Right off number 11, right off the bat. I like this number 11 kid.
Good player. I think Nathan Taylor's.
When freshly painted lines, they got the scoreboard.
Yep.
Hazeldene's busy road. You can drive by. You see a football game going on. It's great.
Yes, 3 minutes from your house.
I know. It's great.
There's a throw. I think
Valentino. Oh,
and this is.
They just look good, man. They look good.
There's a throw that Valentino makes across the middle for a touchdown. This is a big play.
They got a big pick there.
Yeah. That was the play. I was like, oh no, here we go. That was that was the worst throw we've made all night. Came right back on the net because the Canada guys, the Bantam team, was talking trash to me. They were like,
"There's so many on there that I think I've coached. You know, it's just a matter of getting the rosters now. And,
I know.
And really
Doesn't
digging
really
into
matter.
who's who and what numbers are. But I know the quarterback is, I believe, Noah, and he backed up James Keenan at the Warriors.
Yeah.
It's such a shame when you get two guys that can compete, like play so well. Like it's no way that we're not going to play James.
I know, of course not.
But Nolan Harris.
Yeah.
I believe Nolan Harris is either number 9 or number 7, and he was just so good, man. He was a first-year Bantam when we had him, but he was good enough to be a starter anywhere in the city. And now you know he finds himself in another quarterback controversy.
Hey. Sometimes it happens that way, you know, and sometimes you can look at it. This is the throw. Watch this.
Yeah. Right to
like that throw.
I just think that this Norseman team, it might take them a little while, but I think they have an equally impressive offense.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's equally
not equally impressive. It's not as high octane, not as explosive, but like I think it can be like systematically. Look at this play.
Yeah, that was a little nice cross. They've made some good plays. Their running back can make plays. They can do some good things, but I haven't seen the consistency enough offensively from the Bel Air Norsemen at this point. And I was a little confused about why the quarterback was getting switched. Now, Connor Vanass made a good point. He said maybe this is the highlight of the game. Though. Look at that play.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I think
that's 11 again, eh?
It's 11 a game, man. He's a good player. And I think they went up 20-7, and then the game started turning. He almost pulled that down with one hand. That was almost a good play there. And here's Ferdinand.
Yeah, man, this kid is so good.
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
Well, I know, but I think they're twin
They're
brothers.
both great players.
Now, somebody told me, their dad was in the CFL.
That's right.
He's like a Hall of Famer, man.
He was. And I remember.
Oh, just the speed. But also, here's the thing. It looks as impressive as it looks. It was a blown coverage.
It was, but it was a good throw and good catch.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if the Giants can not blow any coverage and keep everything fairly contained, and I think they can. I think they have the capability as a defense. I think that they're a defensively built team, like with the stars that they have on their defense, the Giants, and the a little bit of the attitude that they have from the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be maybe if they keep this game low scoring, I think it's going to put West Ottawa in a bit of a bind.
Yep,
and I think the only way that the Giants win this game, especially if they're not even looking on film on them and they're moving on to Quebec teams.
Yep.
I think that's a huge mistake. But if they're not, if they can hold that game to a low-scoring affair, then I think now it just comes up to the Giants being able to do something on offense.
Yep.
And I think they could pull off a low-scoring win.
Listen. I think that we talked about this the other day. The amazing competitiveness that we've seen in the game, and the ability of we've seen close games. We've seen teams have beat other. Oh yeah, that was the game. That was the big play in the game. They had the momentum was all on the Norseman's side, and that was a good effort, but a bad throw. And
then they come back, they blow a coverage.
Yep.
Now that's tough. I will say right now though that is like. That's tough. What if you saw right there, the 2 verticals? I think they had 3 verticals, and they're in coverage.
Inside guy went out, outside guy went in. Yeah,
and he split the difference. That's all you can do is turn your head and get back to the wide receiver.
And right before that, he dropped a touchdown. Same play. They ran it again the next play. So it was a really good play. I like that we were seeing a little bit of, like we talked about, of a good competitive balance. So this is why this is why we thought the Big Ten was going to be a huge success.
Oh, man, it is. And this is heating up. I can't wait for Thursday night.
This is amazing.
And there's trash talk going on, man. Eagles are calling out Canada. So you've won 2 games in 10 years and you think you're all that.
And you know what the thing is? I'm really not
so
factoring history in as much as you are. I'm really giving everyone a clean slate.
Well, and you know what? It might be completely new coaches everywhere. Like we don't really know, except we do know that at Norseman it's not. Nice catch.
And you know what the funny thing is though, is that in midget, it really depends on how good your Pee Wee and Bantam teams has been. And Canada had some good Pee Wee and Bantam teams the last few years.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, they're definitely moving up. Yeah.
Did they win the Bantam championship last year?
They did. Now, the Ferdinand twins are definitely 2 kids that have moved up.
Yeah.
But
aren't they?
Vanass won the championship as a quarterback, and he stayed at Bantam for another year.
Yeah, but Valentino's still good too.
Absolutely is.
And we'll see. We'll see
what happens, man. Now, okay, let's get into Orleans, and this is going to lead to our other discussion.
The last segment
of the night. Now I'm just going to put the audio on so that I feel like the audio on the highlights that will be on YouTube is just a little too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say, Gatineau, this is a good game, and this is another sign of the parity of the conferences. The fact that Gatineau and Orleans, it was a competitive game, and it came down to the end. Gatineau had possession with the last couple minutes, and they had a chance to go up and tie the game. So,
and we're talking about the improvement, right? Week 1, they got blown out. Week 2, they played better, not the same results. And then this week they could have got the W. They're right there. So there's my guy, Timothée, Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
He actually, in Japan, they call him Timothée.
Timothée, what is that?
It's an old shampoo brand.
Gotcha.
I thought it was pretty funny.
How do you say Head and Shoulders in Japanese?
I don't know. I can say head.
Okay, so this is Will. This is one of my DBs at the Panthers in the summer, 26. Giving him a little shout out. What a nice tackle that. He has another one in this highlight reel. Great little player, man.
You know a player I love for the Vikings, number 28.
Okay.
He's a DB. Great player. Ooh.
So he was
really dangerous going across the middle though.
Josh Baca thought he had it there.
Yeah, Josh Baca.
Some nice defensive line play by the Rasman. I was impressed. Now, I do want to look at the power rankings for this because I think an interesting story is starting to brew. I made a mistake with the power rankings. I rated the Rasman a little low after this win that they had against Gatineau. But it was difficult because, well, we'll see, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a moment.
Yeah.
But
this guy, I love this running back. Get the ball to the outside, son.
Greachy, sorry.
Get the ball to the outside hand.
He does like shaking. He shakes some tackles there.
Oh yeah.
Backer. I don't know how he's gone under the radar for so long.
Such a good player.
Oh my God, he was already. You see some other plays where he's blitzing the A gap and he's getting in there. He forced a fumble. He hit the quarterback, lodged the ball. They got it back late in the fourth quarter.
First game against Shadow Gay, he was making plays everywhere.
Oh man, what a spark plug!
Like him.
There, Will almost got a pick, breaking on the ball like I taught him.
There we go.
Field goals missed early on.
Man,
But here's the thing. So what I want to talk about is Orleans games against Chateauguay. Chateauguay.
You have trouble with that
What
one.
does it matter?
Why does it matter?
Why-
Is it Ottawa or Ottawa?
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Oh, look at this. A little bit of replay. Chuck stick. Oh.
Oh yeah.
So they're gonna have the Raiders at Millennium coming up, and how big of a game will that be?
That is going to be a fantastic football game.
So now the
catch the ball.
first game the
son.
Orleans Rasman had that close thriller that really came down to some defensive back play. They lost to the Spartans, right?
That's
You
right.
Remember that quarterback,
Yep.
that mobile quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
So the Spartans beat the Raiders.
Oh, there we go.
So and Saint Lazare beat the Raiders, and the Rasman beat Saint Lazare.
So here we go.
So now, like, this is a must-win for Orleans. But if you look at that, like, Orleans really has the opportunity to take this division.
That's right.
And if they do, they will have the last seed playing probably someone like North Shore in the first round of the playoffs,
And that's
or
why we set it
potentially
up.
the West Ottawa Knights.
Wow, look at the return skills on this guy.
That's back again.
I
And
like
who was
that.
he tackled by? Number 52.
I like that number
I think it's
21. That's my
Matthew
type of player.
Staff, I believe. I will correct that once I have the name in front
That was a
of me.
pretty nice throw there on the run, must say. They look like they got a few more athletes on their team.
Well, all the teams are saying that they're adding roster still. They're still, we still have till September 7th to add players, I believe.
Yep.
Kids are coming to the woodwork because when you see teams and the high
Here
school
we are. Here we go.
Yeah, okay. I'll finish that thought.
Yep.
So this is going to lead us into another discussion here.
Yep.
So this was a hit midway through the second quarter. He was ejected. So Josh Baca made a play on the receiver. In hindsight, when you slow it down, we're going to see this. He had a few choice words as he left the field.
Unacceptable.
We're going to be showing this, but we'll finish the highlights and then we'll get into that hit.
We'll finish the highlights.
He was ejected, which means that he gets another game.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about that for the next few minutes, but that was that could have been a really important, that could have been a really big moment in the game, right? That could have been a play that maybe would have given Orleans a loss. That could have affected the game that way. Luckily it didn't. Luckily they got the win. I do think they had a better game than Gatineau did overall, but you still would like to see Orleans to convert a few more touchdowns.
Yeah, I'd be a little like, I think like we said, Gatineau looked a lot better, and I'm not saying that, I mean, they're not competing at this level in this division, but just based on the last couple weeks performance, I think I would have expected Orleans, if they're improving incrementally each week, to be better in this game.
I agree. I wasn't impressed with Orleans' performance today, but I was impressed with the Vikings. So, that's how it goes. One team is good. One team, not every team can be great.
Any given Sunday.
Oh, he kicked that ball. He ninja kicked that. It was like a scissor kick. I used to love the scissor kick when I used to play.
Cuts back.
I love this player though.
Look at this block by the quarterback.
Yeah, could have been a penalty. Good job though.
Clears the road.
There we go. This is the type of drive you need to win football games.
The other player, Sasha, linebacker number 42 for the Rasman.
Yeah.
All over the field.
Amazing.
I mean, this game showcased some amazing backers. Number 52, the Gatineau. Number 45, Rasman. These guys are all over the place. I think staff has been to the Panthers summer teams and been turned away a couple times, and I don't know what the hell they're thinking. This guy's a gem.
Yeah. And that number 11 for Gatineau, he's tall receiver. He's been right. He's always in the right spot.
Oh, look at the knee. You see that?
I did see that. I've seen him drop a few passes. I'd like to see 11 be able to make. All right, here we go. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we'll get into that hit there.
Yeah.
And I've drummed up a few things. It's a good conversation to have.
Yep.
But I just want to look at this for a second, and let's get our thoughts on this. So the Spartans beat the Rasman in a very close, high offensive game shootout, week 1. Now Now the Stallions lost to Orleans by a point in the Rasmussen's first. Chateauguay lost to the Stallions, and Gatineau lost. They beat Gatineau. Rasmussen have. I'm not sure who they have this week, actually, off the top of my head. But Gatineau has Sherbrooke. So, getting on the win column there. But I think now it looks like Orleans really is in kind of a must-win situation from this point on. I know it's crazy because it's such an early part of the season, but they have Chateauguay coming up at Millennium in a couple weeks' time, and then they're going to have to play the Spartans again. And if they, as long as they're getting better at the same rate as everyone else, that's a winnable game. And I would love to see Orleans play in the Big Ten playoffs. And I know it's crazy because it's such an early part of the season, but they have Chateauguay coming up at Millennium in a couple weeks' time, and then they're going to have to play the Spartans again.
That would be an amazing story.
That'd be pretty cool. So
cool.
What's your opinion? Okay, so we talked a little bit about this.
We did.
Let's look at this hit.
Let's look at the hit. Ooh.
So we've got
East.
league. I'm just going to go back here for a sec.
Yeah, no problem. And we had this, Jesse and I have had this conversation not just one time. It pretty much has started since that Sean Lee Golden Tate hit was sort of the first time, I guess, it got sort of angry debate in a respectful way. And it's like, we want people to be safe. We want the sport to be more accessible for people. We don't want people getting unnecessarily hit. With that in mind, all the leagues across the world have made adjustments to how they're making calls in the football games. And the referees that are professional referees aren't able to get it right, let alone the referees at the amateur levels, let alone the referees at the junior amateur levels. I understand there's going to be mistakes made and all that. With that being said, it's very difficult to get it right. And it's very difficult to have a conversation with football people, because football people love the big hits. It's like fighters love the knockout, and you can't tell a fighter you can't knock somebody out, and people feel that way about football. I don't, but I do want the sport to continue.
Well, and I think you have to start every conversation with the outward intention of, like, the whole point is to make the game safer.
That's it.
And try to keep the integrity of the sport and the physicality of it intact to a respectable level.
That's right.
So I'm just adding another clip because you talked
problem.
The Sean
Yeah.
there. So
yeah.
I did have that. I think we have to have these healthy conversations because I mean, as a coach, I want to know how I think about this and how I'm communicating these philosophies to my players. So
that's right.
I mean, let's just get into the clip.
Let's see the hit. Go to it.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. That's what you just saw there, guys and girls, is something that was a good play by defensive back, not taking an unnecessary risk. There was no penalty on that play, of course, and we clearly saw that. No, he didn't hit the guy, and there was no flag. So that's an example of a good play.
Okay, so here's the hit. So Josh Baca playing safety. It's his second game. He's joined the team. Now, that was a flag, and I think that was unnecessary roughness. The ball was a little overthrown, so that's a defensive receiver.
Yep.
He's walking back. He sees that he got the flag, and then the ref says, "You're out, ejected, out of the game." Now, I don't like Baca's reaction. He gets another flag, and then he kind of flips out. Now, at this level, no matter whether you agree or disagree, you have to conduct yourself better.
Yep.
You can't let your emotions get the best of you. You're going to put your team behind, and more than just like the game itself and the team. Like,
we did. And then I feel what I felt like was, I always have a couple rules that I like to use with the hits. Is one, could it have been worse? Could he have done more things to try to hurt the player? And I think the answer in this case is he could have done more. I definitely agree that was a unnecessary hit. The ball was not catchable. He should have been given a penalty for 15 yards for an unnecessary roughness. I don't like that he was ejected. I don't feel an ejection was necessary. I don't feel that that it was a fair call for an ejection.
So the question is, though, is that my opinion is that refs are calling that stuff, whether or not they're leading with the helmet. It's very difficult, in my opinion, in my estimation, for a referee to determine if they use the helmet to lead with or if it was a shoulder. And as we, it looked like it was a helmet in when you were there in live action.
Yeah.
But when you slow it down, you look at, he actually did put his forearm out.
Yeah, under his armpit.
And
yes.
I think he hit forearm. So actually, when you consider that, hindsight's 20/20, but it looks less physical than it was. But my point is that the referees aren't in a position to make that differentiation. And that's being called all the time now. So for the betterment of the game, I'm adopting the philosophy that maybe we just need to start coaching that's not a play you make anymore. Maybe it's, and we're going to see an example of Nepean Eagles game where the free safety lets off. And certainly, like back in the day, I would have tried to take the guy's head off.
Yeah.
So you can see that maybe we need to reward plays like the Canada player that did that, which was Isaiah Butts, number 46. He showed some great instincts and some control.
Yeah.
And, we talked about Noah Gauthier showing more control of his emotions on the field. And that, I think, call, you don't agree with it, but you can't flip out. So I think as coaches and as a community, we're trying to make these boys better.
Yes.
And if Back is watching, which I think he is, you got to move forward and learn that you play on the edge, but not over the edge.
Yes.
And whether you like that call or not, I think Tyler says there's nothing wrong with that play at all.
I basically think there's nothing wrong with that play at all, except the fact that it was a late hit. I'm not debating the lateness of the hit.
I think the main call was that the ball was overthrown.
Yep.
And he was defenseless.
Yeah, that's not untrue. That is not untrue.
And I hope that's what the refs saw. I'm not sure if it is. I'm not sure if they made that calculation.
I just don't think it was
bad and they called it, which is what I think they're doing now. I think that refs are just calling something that looks bad like that. And if that's the way we're moving forward, I'm okay with that, because I do believe in the long run less people will be hurt if those hits are out. Now, I do want to also look at a few other examples. Not to say that one was bad, or if the ones that we're going to show from the safety of Bel Air, Jake Smith, are any worse or any better. But I'm just saying that as a defensive back coach, I think maybe I'm going to start to choose to coach players not to make those types of plays anymore. Just because if it's a penalty 90% of the time, it's not worth it.
And this is where, and I guess this is our fundamental disagreement. I'd say if that play happened 10 times, I think it would be only a penalty once or twice. And I think that there was a bit of an overreaction by the referees. I definitely think that a flag was warranted for a late hit. I definitely do not believe an ejection was a fair.
But that is not, I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if there are any refs watching right now. But I think the rule book says that anything like that happens, it's an automatic ejection.
I can't speak on that. I don't know.
Me neither. And I think what you're arguing against is the rule itself. I don't think they have the discretion to say that. I don't think that warrants an ejection. I think it's just like an automatic ejection.
It might be, and if that's the case, I disagree with the rule. But let's say I was operating under the assumption that there was no automatic ejection rule in NCAFA or the QMFL. To my knowledge, unless there's a direct hit to the head, which is the only time I've ever heard of an automatic ejection where it's a clear headshot to a.
On what the actual call was there, was it unnecessary roughness?
Yep.
Which is more of a blanket kind of, that was bad play.
It was unnecessary
or
what he
was
did.
it leading with the helmet?
Which it wasn't. But if they called it, then they maybe called it wrong, but applied a rule incorrectly. But I don't think they did. I think it was an overreaction. I think it looked worse than it was. I think the fact they took another game away from a kid is unfair. And like I told you, I'm not agreeing with how the player reacted, but I would have reacted the same way. and I would have done that. I've not conducted myself perfectly as an athlete. When I played, I was a very fiery player, especially on the basketball court. I got ejected from at least 5 basketball games in my career, and I really don't. I get frustrated, and we all competitors do. And especially when you don't know how it's going to be called, that's the most frustrating thing. And I give all the sympathy to the referees. It's a very, very tough job they're in, and I respect anybody doing it, because without them, we don't have a sport. And I think that it's a healthy discussion. I don't think it was the right call, but we'll be having it again, I'm sure, in a week or two.
Okay, so let me show you a couple plays that I saw over the weeks that look similar.
Yep.
So what do you think of this? Well, let's
watch this again.
Let's have a quick look at this one again. Now, receiver for Gatineau got right up. He was not injured.
I will say that if the referee gave him a 15-yard penalty for a late hit, but then the referee from the back came over and said ejected, and I don't think he made a decision late. I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like it.
I'm trying to get to the other one here.
Yep. And I don't like how he was acting now. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. You know what? And I don't disagree. I've done it myself too.
Yep.
He's a young kid. He's gonna get better.
Yep. Well, he's a good player, and
he's a great player. And you know what? He wants to win. So, yeah. The more you look at it, he was using his elbow. Yeah, I mean,
he pushed him under the.
My point is that's a great play, but they're calling that now. Like, you can't do that, and you're gonna see.
Well, I know you say they're calling that now, but I actually don't think they are calling that.
They are. I think from what I saw in the NFL preseason and what what I've seen in the CFL, now watch this game. They're calling that sort of stuff. Now, Jake Smith's hit there. Now, there was a flag, but you pointed out the flag was thrown actually before the hit, and it was
the flag was
interference
before the hit was even made.
But can you do this anymore as a safety?
I think you can, because I don't think that will be called, maybe again 1 out of 10 times.
Okay, this is Jake Smith again on another one, week 1.
Clearly,
is that a defenseless receiver?
No.
Is that unnecessary roughness?
No. There's nothing unnecessary about that play. Everything was necessary.
He's making a play on the ball.
Beautiful. Every time do that. He should have got a taunting penalty.
My point is that I don't know what the refs are going to call, so I almost want to just say, well, even if it's 50-50, well, 50-50 is a little different, but even if it's, 75% of the time that they're going to call that call, maybe we just can't be teaching kids to make that play anymore.
I won't disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that. If it's 50-50.
That's a flag in the pros now.
Of course.
This is a flag.
Shouldn't be.
It is, though.
I don't think there was no flag on that play.
But that was years ago.
Well, my point is that
I almost wonder, like, okay, so now look at the way that Butts plays this.
Yeah.
Almost identical. Ball's overthrown, he lays off, and I think that's just a smart play.
It is. And I'm not saying the hit was smart. What I'm saying is it wasn't an ejectable hit.
He could have easily cleared that guy out, and he probably would have gotten a flag. Now, my point, the reason I'm playing this clip is because as we change the game and we teach kids that you can't make those types of plays anymore, because you're going to get ejected and you're going to get an extra game, you're going to see a lot more of this type of defensive back play. Now, I know that you say this is maybe not a perfect example.
No, but I think it's a good example. I do think it's a good example.
It's a big example because it was a huge game. But
that was crazy.
I do think that, like, in this case, this guy could have lined him up and put a helmet in his back.
Yep.
I think that's probably how I would have played it.
Yep.
But now knowing that we don't really know what they're going to consider unnecessary roughness or what spearing or what is. Now we're going to have to find a different way as defensive backs, and guess what? A lot of that stuff's going to happen now because we have to find a different way.
Yep.
And I think we just need to accept that this game has changed, and these are the types of things we need to consider as a coach. I don't think that it's good enough just to be like, oh, what is this, touch football now?
Yeah, and like, I don't feel I'm doing that. I know people are.
We need to progress. And listen, I was a hard-hitting safety. I love the violence.
Didn't people say you're like the dirtiest player in the league?
Ottawa U said I was the dirtiest player in CIS when I played. But they're Ottawa U, so,
Yeah.
I just think that, like, listen, if we don't know what is considered and what isn't, I'm almost just going to, stop
err on the side of
teaching
caution.
people to make that play.
You're going to err on the side of caution.
Yep.
Yep. It's a worthwhile discussion.
This is the one that you said started it all.
I think it did. Because it's a player trying to make a play,
Tate.
helmet to chin,
Yeah, but Sean
but helmet to helmet. You can't do that.
But then what? Here's the thing: we're getting ourselves in a maze because Golden Tate is probably like 5'9", and Sean Lee's 6'3". So helmet to chin, yeah, because there's a major height difference, and the guy's coming from that angle. So I mean, listen, if I'm not disagreeing with it being a penalty, but I'm just saying, like, you can't have it both ways. If we're taking those hits out, then they're gone, and we'll teach it a different way, and we're gonna get more plays like the Vikings thing.
Yep.
And I just think that, like, I think there's more use in just moving on and saying we don't make those plays in football anymore than it is to try to put the onus on the refs to make the little discrete nuanced differences in calls, because they're not going to do it well.
You know what? You have a lot of good points, but I disagree with you. But that's why we love it. You know, that's the HESN. That's HESN Live. We're going to have these discussions, and we're going to agree sometimes, and we're going to disagree sometimes. And that's what it's about, baby.
So anyways, let's get Dylan St. Pierre on to say how it feels to score, like, what an amazing touchdown in a big, like, I would say when I played, Laurier was the best atmosphere for homecoming in the entire OU.
Yeah, my brother was there.
He was there, and he played basketball. Your brother.
That's right. But he also led the charge on the football games.
He did. He ran.
He was first to get the keg and last one to put it away.
He pissed me off because he was always decked out in all his gear.
Yeah.
with some like good looking girl. And
he always had good looking girls with him.
Yeah. He did well, your brother.
He did.
Anyways, listen, that's it. We're out of time.
Yeah.
I hope everyone enjoyed HESN Live. We're going to be back at you with next Wednesday with the results from the weekend.
Yes.
And let us know what you think, and hopefully you enjoyed yourselves. Tyler, I want to thank you for coming on and being my co-host today.
Amazing.
And, you can always look at us, follow us on all the social media platforms, HESN. And we're going to have more information on the different stuff we're going to be doing in the off season. But right now we're going into week 4. NCAFA's heating up, and
full speed, baby.
And the U Sports is just getting started, man. We got a lot to talk about. I'm Jesse, and from everyone, thank you very much for joining in.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Okay, so we are moving right along with our show tonight. Thanks everyone for joining in. I had a few referees. They didn't chat about this conversation, but very interested to hear what they think about all this. At the end of the day, I think it's a good conversation that we have, and we're going to move on. Wanted to talk to a special guest of Dylan St. Pierre because he just scored his first touchdown. Now, he's a Gloucester Raider. We're a big fan of his, and we want to bring him on the show right now to talk a little bit about his journey from NCAFA to the Ottawa GGs. So now we're going to be joined by Dylan St. Pierre, receiver for the Ottawa GGs, longtime NCAFA kid, and it's great to see you doing so well, man.
Hey, great to see you, Jesse. Thanks.
So this weekend, you scored your first touchdown.
Yeah.
We want to have a look at that, and maybe just tell us a little bit about how it felt, and also, you know, about the game and what it's been like so far coming out of camp and contributing in week 1.
Yeah, for sure. So touchdown, I was super excited about it. It felt really good. I mean, my first university touchdown was pretty big milestone. So I was really excited about that. And then it's always good to play the first game just because you've been in training camp for so long and it's a long off season. So it feels good just to be on the field again in a game. And yeah, so that was just super exciting. And, you know, now that it's my 3rd year, I've got a little bit more significant role on the field. So really, really happy about that. And then as for the game, we made a few too many mistakes, and that ended up ultimately costing us. But, you know, if there were quite a few good things that did come out of the game, but again, just too many mistakes, and that's what ultimately cost us in the end.
Yeah, so maybe you've got McMaster, I think, this weekend at home,
Yeah.
and they kind of got away with a win by I think 1 point. I think they won 16-15 against Guelph in week 1. But
Yeah.
maybe talk about your progression from the first time of, like, showing up and doing some workouts with the GGs, deciding that you're going to play, stay at home and play for the Ottawa University of Ottawa, and maybe now, now that you're there and you're now dressing and you're contributing, what's that journey been like for you?
It's been a while. It's been a long journey. I still remember first starting to work out at Human 2.0 with Joey Kwasniewski back when I was in grade 12, just when I had committed to the team. And so I remember we started working out there and building a relationship there, and I started to get to know a few guys from the team that way. And then when the summer came, there are field times where we can go throw and run routes, and then I was just getting even more involved with the team. And I remember it's a bit of a shocker when you get there and you're all of a sudden you're the smallest one there, and you're running with university athletes now. This is big league stuff, and just continuing to work that way on the field and in the weight room. We've got the dome up in the winter, so that's pretty good for us. We get to run routes and all that kind of thing year round, and just keeping at it in the weight room and at the dome, and because you want to see your name progress up on the depth chart, and that's the way you have to do it, by putting in the work in the off season.
For sure, man. And I remember talking to a few of the guys last summer, more senior players on the GG's roster, and they were talking about how excited they were for you because you just seemed to be like a really hard worker all off season, and you totally bought in to what was going on there. So, that's what we always saw growing up, and kind of watching you score touchdowns with the Raiders. Maybe you can think about one or two of your favorite memories growing up playing in the NCAFA.
Well, I remember it was second year tyke back when I was 9 years old or something, and I played quarterback then. That was the first position I wanted to play in football. I remember it was the semifinal game for the A Cup, and we had a pretty sophisticated offense for tyke. We had audibles and all that kind of thing, and so we were in overtime, and at this point we needed to score to win the game. And I remember, we had a run play going to the left, and I remember looking over and I saw the defense was stacked up over to that side. I remember I took my mouth guard out and I screamed the audible, to flip the run play to the other side. And so we ran the play, hand the ball off, and the guy ends up running it in for a touchdown, and that's what won us the game. But I remember that was a pretty sweet one.
That's awesome, man. I remember Tyke are some of the best memories, and seeing
Yeah,
that
for sure.
they've now moved to 6 versus 6 in Tyke across the city, just to
Mhm.
allow more teams to field teams and grow the game in those areas of the city, as opposed to having to have a full roster.
Yeah.
It's becoming more difficult to do that. So, but I mean, you gotta love it when you see the little kids running around, falling in love with the game, and
Oh yeah, that's all fun for them.
yeah,
I think that's a really good idea, moving it to 6-on-6.
yeah. So maybe like, what kind of advice do you think, like, your progression of? Do you remember when you were leaving Bantam and you wanted to play at the next level? What sort of things, now that you're going into third year, you realize what was important back then, and what was maybe something that you really didn't have to pay attention to, now looking back?
Uh, say a big thing that I wish I had done, as opposed to, is just be patient. Work hard and control what you can control. You know, if you're a good player, you'll get your recognition, but just be patient with it. Don't stress about it if you're not approached right away or anything like that. I remember I was just a big stress ball that whole period, that whole recruiting period, waiting, kind of waiting for things to happen. I didn't want to wait, but I just wanted stuff to happen right away. But that's not the way it works. You need to be patient with it. Just keep working hard, control what you can, and good things will come. So just be patient. That's my biggest thing.
That's good advice, and I think that when you look at a lot of the players that are doing so well now in the OUA. I mean, Curly Gittins Jr. is another guy you're playing against. That's another Ottawa boy. And
Yeah.
you look at all these guys that come through. Like NCAFA has produced so many kids that are doing well in the youth sports now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's testament to the development that all these youth coaches put into these players, and the amount of football that you get to play before you even graduate high school. But you're right. If you're a good player and you put the work in, they're gonna find you and you're gonna have an opportunity. And that's certainly paid off. And once you get there, it's equally important to keep putting the work in, which you have. And
Yeah.
I think that we're huge fans of you here at HESN, and we're really looking forward to seeing you develop throughout your university career. And I think you're a player that will definitely get a shot at maybe going to the next level.
Thanks, Jesse.
Hey, thanks for joining us, man, and good luck this weekend.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So we're at an hour and 48 minutes. I think we're gonna stop it there for this episode. But I want to thank everyone for joining us on HESN Live. We're gonna be back next Wednesday, Wednesday evening at 9:30. We've got a few people asking us to delay it from 9 to 9:30 because they can't get back from practice and showered in time to watch it. So we've delayed it to 9:30. Let us know if that works. If we're going too late to 11 o'clock, then maybe we can figure something out. If you want to be on a guest on the show, if you have something to talk about, or you want to just voice your opinion on what we are already talking about, we're going to be looking at the highlights again from Midget, and we're going to be looking at the Tyke Jamboree. We have another Jamboree on Monday, and that it's in Gatineau. So all the Tyke teams are going to be playing. We're going to have full coverage and photography for that day. So if you can't make it out to that, just look for the highlights that will be coming out, and we'll be talking about the Tyke along with the rankings. We're going to be having the rankings again each week. Tomorrow night, be sure to tune in to HESN Live either on YouTube, so HESN YouTube channel, or the Facebook Live, and it's shared on all the platforms. So from NCAFA, on the Eagles, on all the teams, we encourage you to share the live video. We're going to have a doubleheader tomorrow night with Mosquito, the Bel Air Lions versus the North Gloucester Giants at 6 p.m., and then we're going to have that followed by the Midget big anticipation game. This is going to be huge. This is the Giants and the 2-0 West Ottawa Knights tomorrow night, 8 p.m. sharp. Make sure you tune in online and support this great game that we have in Ottawa, these great players that we have in Ottawa, and what the House Edge Sports Network is trying to do. Thank you, and good night.